Hey everybody, welcome to episode 144 of the Bonehead podcast, where we talk all things Blood Bowl. And jingle. Welcome back. I'm Ben, and once again I'm joined by Blood Type Ben. BT, how you doing?
Very good, thank you.
We probably I should probably start calling you Brush Type, just like all the time now.
I don't know. I like the blood type, Ben. It feels a bit forced saying brush type.
Brush Type TM, and also we're joined by TO Extraordinaire and Connoisseur of Wands, Ian Triple Power Triple O. Trips, how are you?
I'm very good, thank you. I'm enjoying dice rolling with the accompaniment of Ben's at the moment, because it goes better when Ben's are in the room.
It does seem to, although when I left you unattended with Milton at the tournament the other weekend, that went all right as well, didn't it?
That was fine, yes. I've decided I shall only ever play against people on the podcast.
No, we're gonna have to roll you out. In fact, you played against Ian, didn't you? What? You played against Warhammer with vampires on the stream.
Yes.
And crushed his soul.
He had vampires, and the gnomes decided to destroy the line of scrimmage in turn one.
And then, if I'm right, Ian took that on Ben.
Yes, yeah. Play it forward.
Yeah, and then Craig, which was quite entertaining. But anyway, we'll probably be talking about some Bonehead Championship bits. But other than that, BT, what are we on about on 144?
We're just going to have a little roundtable chat about team tournaments, because, I mean, we ran one recently. I've been to several over the course of last year. And, yeah, we got some good thoughts on them. And, yeah.
Yeah, we figured we'd have just a chat about it. Give us a good opportunity to talk through some of the highlights of R1 and where Ben gets farmed off around the country to the highest bidder to play in their Blood Bowl teams as the ultimate journeyman. Then it seems like a good way to talk about that as well. But I think we might have a couple of hobby bits to lead into first. Okay, so hobby, games, bits and pieces. Anybody been doing anything particularly exciting? Probably Ben.
I've painted a couple of things.
I went to
I don't know when did we last talk about hobby? Because I mean we had a week break, so I don't know when it's been. But yeah, anyway, I'm working on a couple of armies at the moment. As one I think it's slightly in the corner of the camera. That's a siege job. Can't really talk too much about that one, but I can talk about I'm working on a Death Guard army too. So 2 armies simultaneously is quite a lot. So I'm having to balance my time quite a bit. But I'm taking a couple of little breaks in them to do some star players for a commission. I did the new Rodney Roach bait yesterday.
The Rodney you did was fantastic. Like,
yeah, popped up with images in the Discord.
Yeah, that is really good, and the model looks really good as well. How was it to build? Was it in 89 pieces?
It was, yeah, because it's Forge World. But
it's not too bad. But they're normally like 9, 10, or 11 pieces, and the gnomes are small.
Yeah, I think it was around 12. It can't be that many.
Why?
It can't have been that many.
Why?
I was trying to think about it.
In about 4 different pieces.
I don't understand why. Like trips, like building Necromunda stuff. Oh my god, I only got halfway through those policemen because they are like 11, 12 pieces each. I don't understand Games Workshop's deal.
It's like hand and then wrist and then arm and then elbow.
The neck being separate in some models is absolutely unforgivable. Ben, did he have a neck that was separate? Was this nose an individual piece?
No, I've looked it up. It's 6 pieces, so I was very much exaggerating.
That's all right. That's...
Yeah, it's still a lot for a model that's an inch tall, but
I love it. No, that looks really cool. Right, question for you. Real talk time for painting an army. I know you've been on a podcast talking about painting armies, but I don't feel like you got a chance to really talk about painting armies. It was mostly just about drills and how people like to base things separately. But if you've got 2 different projects on, because they're so vastly different, because you've got your siege job, which is a very clean looking army, and you've got Nurgle, which is like probably the opposite, right? Is it better to be doing 2 different topics, like 2 different like types of army, 2 different types of projects at the same time? Is it like, and you balance well-being and efficiency?
Yeah, it's nice to have a bit of a break. So something I sort of talked about on that podcast was like balancing or like mapping out time for stages. So it's like I know how long one thing's going to take. So I'm just like, okay, well I can spend 2 days doing that, and then that's done, and then I can have a little bit of a break doing something else. So sometimes I get in the flow of it. It's like the last week I've just sort of smashed through one thing because it's just like I've got momentum. I'm just going to keep going with it. I want to finish them, get to a certain finishing point.
Yeah.
But now I'm at that. That's where I'm just like, okay, well now I'll pick up this model because I know it's going to take a day, and I can come back to it because I know exactly what the next stage is going to be and how long it's going to take. So that's where it's like when you compartmentalize it, it becomes a lot easier, and I can make that distinction. So like when these are done, I'm going to go and do a certain stage on the Death Guard and stuff like that, like do like the oils and the gritty stuff. So yeah, it's like it's not. I don't really treat it as like doing one big thing when I break it down like that. It's like just sort of little tasks I have for the day, which makes it a lot easier to digest.
Yeah, that's bound to be useful. And Trips, I mean, I know you've got a desk full of Necromunda gangs. Like, they're all very different styles as well. Do you find that that's good, bad, useful, not useful?
I like to batch paint the gang, so I find it quite useful to have them at different stages because otherwise you get into all the fiddly bits at exactly the same time and not being quite at the standard of our friendly local professional painter. I like something that's like quick and easy and relaxing, and you can go, actually, this model's gone on quite a long way in the half an hour I've spent on it. Now I shall go back and go, where are all those flipping leather pouches?
Yeah, Agrax will take care of those. Ben, how many awards have you won now? You've got at least one team award, haven't you?
I've only got one.
Oh, we're not quite got you to the multiple award-winning painter.
I've only won one painting competition. That was a Blood Bowl one.
Have you ever contemplated doing like competition painting?
It's like the next step, yeah. I told myself then the next painting like milestone is to enter a competition, not take anything home, but just to enter one, like an actual painting comp. Like, it's the thing as well. It's like I feel like I paint really well at a high tabletop level. It's like I can paint a lot of stuff pretty well, I think, and pretty quick. But it's like doing the competition detail stuff is where it's like that's a challenge, and like to mentally prepare myself to spend more than a day doing a single model is a lot. So
you're at Peachy Plus level.
Yeah, that's a good. Yeah, I like
Peachy Plus. Well, that's kind of where Warhammer Man's kind of been, right? It's like I do not mean this in the disrespectful way that is going to come out. Fortunately, I don't think Ian listens to the podcast. It's not a case of quantity versus quality, but quantity at high quality is a force multiplier, right? So if you've got 50 dudes that are all looking great and work well together as an overall picture, if you pick one up and they're like really not really basic, but like, okay, yeah, cool, I can see this is just discipline repeated. Like, I think it has a really big effect, because I know that's how Ian's won so many of his things, is because he's just like gone, I've painted the whole army, I've painted it well, it works well together, and it pops. And it's like, yeah, and that's kind of what we see at Blood Bowl tournaments, right? Like, I've painted this team very well, right? This team is very good, not outstanding, but it's very good. But then I've added a cool base, a cool theme. I finished it off well, that kind of gels it together. It's just interesting.
You focused heavily on something that would draw the attention of someone looking at it.
Yeah.
And I think that's what it is. Yeah.
Because you listen to Ninjon and all that on the Top podcast. Well, it's been a while actually. And they talk about like the competition stuff. The reason I ask you is because it kind of sounds miserable. And he's like, I spent 2 weeks painting this one guy's arm, and I'm like, dude, just put like Agrax. You're good to go. Like, there's a contrast paint for that. Don't worry about it. And they're talking about like composition of the model and everything, and it just makes me want to play 40k or drive into something fast. But no, it'd be interesting.
Equally fun.
yeah, I wasn't sure if that came across quite so well. So Ben has unsurprisingly been painting. Trips, have you been up to anything good?
Just a little bit of clearing the hobby desk. So I have the 3 Necromunda gangs that need finishing off because a space needs to be created for a forthcoming pre-order.
Oh, you're going to go in on Zombie Gene Stealers?
Yes, absolutely.
I wish it was Space Hulk. At some point they will re-drop Space Hulk, won't they?
That's what this basically is, isn't it? I thought it was like Space Hulk 2.
It's sort of confirmed that it's very close, and they've also released the 40k
Boarding actions is back, yeah, which is
basically 40k Space Hulk. So
they've done a really weird thing with that. That's kind of like a little stealth release, which is very un-Games Workshop like, because normally with a release of a new game mode or something like that, they would talk about it on a video several months before it was out or anything. And we haven't had a preview video thing for a while, have we?
Not for a while.
I wonder if they stopped doing
like a cinematic.
Well, just one of the videos, like the video, like live streams, they talk about.
Oh right. Okay.
Yeah. Actually, was that Age of Sigmar when the last
we'll
one?
Get one at the end of the summer probably, which will preview everything through to
the next
June.
Blood Bowl team. Come on, the next Blood Bowl team. We've got to have one more this year. Like gnomes are wicked, and we're still enjoying playing with them, but we haven't seen Roana yet. That's Roana, not the Disney film or Pixar film, and like we've got to have. There's got to be another release this year of something.
Yeah.
They did Gutter Bowl.
3 months, right?
Yeah.
Gnomes about 3 months ago, just under.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They did Gutter Bowl last year as like a summer release, which was interesting for a bit. I wonder if we'll have. I mean, it's summer's basically over now, isn't it? Because it's England. And then it will come back again, just when you think it's safe to close your windows. Interesting. Well, I mean, do you think we will see another team this year? Do you think we'll see another expansion something this year?
I think another team.
I think another team as well. Yeah, I think we'll see.
I really don't want to see another expansion. In my opinion, like it's just like I don't know. It's like Gutter Bowl was great, and I enjoyed what we played of it. Dungeon Bowl obviously is good, but that's not really an expansion. That's just a different game. But
they didn't even drop a Dungeon Bowl match play thing, death matches last year. So that was kind of like a one and done situation as well.
I think just the excitement levels of a new team is so much more than.
It's wicked. It's like a new set release, right, for Magic. It's something like that, and there's still a couple of teams of Legend. So I'd be very happy with a team of Legend. I don't know. I think we're in a pretty good place at the moment. I think the slowdown is nice, but I wonder if that's because we're doing the championship that I'm not feeling like the shakes of we need new, because actually I think we're in a place where we're just really enjoying what we've got. I mean,
we're playing with our toys. It's a very bad habit we've got into.
It's weird. You can see them in the back. Like the teams are slowly being added to the back wall there. Like I've added some more of those on this side. The whole thing I think is just going to be those IKEA things just on the wall with like tiny toys. I
definitely said it to you, but like it's something I've done. I don't know if I said it on the podcast, but it's just how much fun it is to just play the game like for fun.
So
like we'll touch on it a bit because we're doing tournaments, but yeah.
Well, yes, we will. But like I've been dabbling in a bit of the OPR world at the moment because I've been in that horrible place where Libby's been challenging, work's been very challenging, so therefore my window of mental capacity has just been turned into a negative thing. So I ended up being I did use a few days off to just focus on not, being angry at people. And I found I think I said this to the chat, like to you guys earlier, like my well-being thing recently has just been scrolling my mini factory library, and also the OPR Discord, one-page rules, because like I'm loving that little environment of stuff where the pressure is like outrageously low and the options are outrageously high, and I think that's like a really good thing. But in there they were talking about gaming, and there was a thing that says that the game starts as soon as you learn about it, and it doesn't ever end, because you always think about, oh, we could do this, oh, this could be a cool project, oh, you could do that. And Ian Warhammer was really good, because when we were younger we used to do game design competitions as a little group, and we'd play demos and get people to vote. It was wicked. That's how Engage came about. And Ian was like a real hippie about it at the time, although I think looking back he was right. He was like, no, like, because we were like, yeah, let's make books, let's do it, let's sell them, it's going to be great. And he was like, no, but you don't understand, like the whole point of this is the actually designing a game together and having like, if it goes nowhere, it's fine. And I think it's very similar with playing games, and war gaming in particular is like, I'm not sure if you like wargaming or just the idea of it, but the idea of it is more than enough as a hobby, I think.
Oh yeah, we said with like I said the really good example is I love buying RPG rulebooks.
Yes.
I'll never play them. I will never play them.
I
I
feel
bought
like
so much.
Trips needs to
Fate
just
Forge.
point at his wall behind with it all there.
Yeah.
Yeah, this whole section here.
It's just so fun to read through and think of the things that could happen, and that in itself is enjoyable and a fun experience.
I
Yeah.
I couldn't agree more. I couldn't agree more. But we've got our OPA. OPA. Oh, there you go. That's an Expanse thing. We've got our OPR game day coming up on Saturday, and I printed some dudes, which has been fun. Got a big lizard dude and some stuff like that, which is going to be really good for us to just play a game where there is no, we're not making content. We are literally just playing a game to play a game's sake, which is pretty good. Because
there's that meme. I don't know if it would come across quite as well spoken, but it's like it was basically someone tweeting just like what imagine like sitting down with some friends, like not it's like a podcast but in person where you sort of just like you don't record anything, you just
even
sort of
have
have like
snacks.
free-flowing conversation. It's called hanging out.
Yeah,
I am actually looking forward to do that. Although part of me is like, oh, it seems like such a good opportunity to like change the cameras and put the cameras up and I'm like, Ben, no,
Just
stop
chill
it,
out.
just stop, just
Get some
don't do
beers
it.
and just chill out.
Yeah, I think that'll be really
Yeah.
good. But on the topic of just playing games, I think we bounce into team tournaments. Okay, so match play is a fantastic way to play Blood Bowl. Blood Bowl 7s, pretty good. Blood Bowl League, I think, is probably the #1 way to play Blood Bowl because it just hits the triumvirate of hobby, story, and gameplay. But in the way of getting your shot of Blood Bowl, tournaments are an excellent way to jam in some games with your team and just meet, in my experience, and I hope you guys will agree with this, just meet a ton of other awesome like-minded Blood Bowl fans. And this is something that I find really wonderful about any event, like any tournament, any whatever, is if you go there, there is this unspoken bond and this familiarity that you can literally walk up to anybody and say, so what you running? And then you immediately make a friend because they go halflings and you go, you know, you wince as if you were somebody taking a diesel car to a garage. And it's just the most awesome thing where you can just jam a bunch of games and you're in this environment where there's a bunch of like-minded people. So going to a tournament is brilliant fun. Going to a league is brilliant fun. But then you think, how can you go with some friends to a tournament? Which I think a lot of people do. In fact, what we see is you tend to have packs of gamers turning up. You know, you've got like literally the priest pack. You know, you've got the Entoyment guys. You've got the guys from Portsmouth. You've got like the guys who normally come together to a tournament. And then there's the team aspect of it, which is something that we haven't really done on the podcast before. We did a team event years and years and years ago in a bomb shelter in Portsmouth. We had the Fobble Wobble Cup. And that was absolutely epic. It was just 4 from Wobble, 4 from Fobble, and we played a 3-round tournament, 3-round team tournament. Yeah, we got yeah, which I think is a valid thing to think about. So we had our little AGM, and Ben was like, we should do a run. Milton was like, we should run a summer event, and Ben was like, we should run a team event. And then we all got excited, and we ran a team event. And it was a pretty good turnout in the end. I think we had 48 in the end turn up, including chucking you and Milton there. But Ben, why was it like we should run a team event? That's something that's missing. Like, what's the jam there?
It stemmed from the World Cup, which is the first team event I've done since the small one in Portsmouth. And it's just, I think I came away from it feeling really good about it because it really condenses everything I think is the best thing about playing tournaments. And that's the people, like playing with people. Like it's been very apparent after doing things like Fumble and things like that for a while, where you really lose that element of human interaction, which I think is really, really valuable. And when you have a team tournament, it's just increased so much more because you're not just interacting with your opponents you play, like the 3 a day or whatever. You're interacting with the 3 others in your team on top of that, and you're just having this great like companionship. It sounds kind of a bit floaty, but it really does feel good, like to just go rock up with a team and you're in it together.
It's taking the solo fun of Blood Bowl, but having a collective experience, isn't it? Because you don't just live and die by your own results. You're actually you can be there going, well, I've played out and I've got a draw, but actually it all comes down to what's happening at the table one of our team and where are we, and you sort of expanding up that goodness and excitement of how did you do? Well,
that's the angle actually, Trips, because like when we go to events, if like you guys have to play, actually it doesn't matter. Like this event, I would go around, I'd see Death Wish or Primac at any of our events. So we're like, oh, how'd you get on? Like, how did you do? And then you watch the stats, don't you? You watch, like, we've got the TV screen where all the scores go on. You know, if you're using Tour Play, you've got Tour Play, and it's like you're watching the tracking. You're like, oh, how did you get on? Right, how are you for your points? What's, you know, how's the future looking for you? But then if you take that and like your successes are also my successes and your failures are also my failures, you've got that kind of like, which I think you called it, Trips, like a shared results stack, which Ben, I know is one of the most important things that you've had from it, which is the case of like sharing the I say the highs and lows. It's more that the highs and lows are buffered, perhaps.
Yeah, it's like you can go to a tournament, even like a 2-day one, you lose your first game, you feel like, okay, well, now my chances are significantly lower of coming away with this with a good result. When you go to a tournament, the result does matter. Like you're playing to win. Like it's part of the fun. But with the team element, because you can get losses and still get team wins, it feels really good. So like even when I went to the World Cup, I had a terrible record. I won 1 game, but my team was on fire and won loads. And so as a team, we were propelled to the top areas, and I felt like a bit of an anchor. But your team was supporting them, just like, "Come on, Ben, you can do this." And then when you get a win, you're all like congratulating each other. You're just like, "Yes, come on!" Like it feels really good. And so you get those like, the losses are definitely buffered by the team, but then the wins are, I think, like you say the highs are buffered, but it's more like they're multiplied because you're all excited about it. Like it's like something like you got people rooting for you. Like it just feels it just feels great. I don't think there's downsides.
No, I don't think there's a downside either. In fact, they do some team events. They do team drafts in Magic, and one of my favorite players, LSV, was talking about it. Is you do 3v3 basically, and you play 3 games, and the total's there. And he's like, I love it because if I lose all my games but my team still wins, I've still won. And if I win all my games but my team loses, I've still won. And he's like,
exactly, you still won.
Which I think is just absolutely brilliant. He said the worst though is when you do middle and your team loses, and it's like the misery is compounded, but it's shared, and you kind of just spend the time arguing over who's to blame. He said, which is fun. So it was like there's no real downside to a team event when it comes to that. But from a TO point of view, there are definitely some things to manage when it comes to a team event. And Trips, this is something that I feel like you were really key in helping organise with this one, because we've always said that we pride ourselves on being as inclusive as possible, because of who we are and where we've come from. We know that people don't always have all the free time that they'd like to. So, for example, Beachhead historically has been a Saturday 11s and a separate Sunday tournament because, well, I worked in retail. Well, I still technically work in retail, but, you know, all my life, and every other weekend, it's not a weekend, it's working. And there's a lot of people out there. So actually, maybe you can get away on the Sunday, maybe you can get away on the Saturday because you've got kids or something like that. And we've always made it like that. So one of the things we talked about, probably incorrectly and undoubtedly was my fault here, based on that, was we wanted some solo people to be able to come to a tournament. Actually, if you don't have a team, don't worry about it. You can come as a solo and we'll build you a team. Seemed great in theory until it got close to the day. We were like, the hell is this? This is a bit of a smorgasbord. Do you want to just touch on a couple of the challenges, Trips, from a TO point of view?
Yeah, I think as a TO, you can almost be a little too inclusive when it comes to team tournaments, and this was probably an issue we had here, because team tournaments do work very much like individual tournaments if you just do it like a team tournament. If you offer the opportunity to have team or solo players or pairs, you create a mathematical issue for your TOs who spend the few days before the roster deadline going, do we need 5 odd mans in? Do we need 1 odd man in? Do we need no odd man in? Because you're both working through making up the teams as well as making sure every team has another team to play, or rotating sort of 3 teams into 2 into the bottom game. So it does add a little level of complexity. And I think the other thing for TOs thinking about team tournaments is what kind of team tournament you're going to play. And we've seen with the World Cup and the home nations recently that Ben's been through, a lot of those team tournaments, they are set up with specific team rules about how the team must be applied. So you can't all turn up with dwarfs. You've got to have a mix of tiers or different skill packages or detail to almost get away from everyone bringing the meta team, because I'm not sure a team tournament would be fun if 200 people turned up with Underworld and
I don't know. Sounds great. I'd love to commentate that one. No, it's a really good shout. And again, I think that's something that we would do differently if we did this again. But it is have that kind of the team build, the team structure bit that was missing from ours, because we knew we were going to have mercenaries, we knew we were going to have solos that we'd have to put, and it felt wrong to be like, well, these 3 Wood Elf players have turned up and they're the only 3 solos, so we put them into a team and now they're playing against a team with tier 1, tier 2, tier 3. So we ended up skipping that bit. But I'd like to shoot over to Ben because of something that he said as we were leading up to it, which is about teams taking agency and ownership of their control. And the level of expectation for team tournaments is different, Ben, right? From a planning point of view.
I think the easiest or smoothest thing to do for a TO is to, like what Ian said, treat it like an individual tournament where you have like a captain to sign up, and then that it's their responsibility to ensure they're bringing a team. So you don't have what we were scared of on the day, which, I mean, we had reason to be because we were having solo players come along. But it's just like on the day dropouts, which do happen in single tournaments. I think it's a lot rarer in team tournaments. It obviously, you know, the world can happen. You know, your car can break down on the way like that. That's an easy example. But it's like to have one person drop out of a team is less likely if you, I think, have the team be responsible for bringing a complete team. I think that definitely softens the blow for the TO a bit.
And part of me wonders if we are just too lenient when it comes to organising our tournament. Our tournaments in the past, because we did have a person in one of our teams who submitted their roster like a week and a half late, but we expected it to be the case, didn't we, Trips? We were like, well, I know exactly what's going to happen here, so you know. And I think that's something that we need to tighten up, because it is interesting, because of the way we kind of vibe with our tournaments. It's a game day as opposed to a competition. That's how we do things. But crossing into the world of team tournaments, it is very different. It feels a lot more. I say it feels. I feel like there is, because you are working as a team of people, there is more. It is more acceptable to have that expectation, because there's 3 of you to share the load, as opposed to like, oh, I haven't done my roster because I completely forgot about it. My wife said I couldn't go, then I could go, so I've just turned up. Here's my roster. And it's like, okay, one person, that's absolutely fine. Life happens. But you know, if all 3 of us, for example, we're going to go to a team tournament as a team, you know, well, we all know Trips would do all the stuff, but you know, it's that kind of like, okay, even if Blood Tithe is painting, Ben is crying in a corner, Trips will still manage to get our rosters in on time. So it's like, it's a fair shout, I think, and definitely one for just I think for team tournaments in general. Like, there is that, it's bigger than just you. In all ways.
And I think the way you see that the most is as soon as you finish your game, the first thing you are interested in is how the rest of your team's doing.
Yeah.
And it's almost that takes primacy over, well, how did you do? Well, what's going on with the other games that are still going? Have we got a chance to make them into a win? It's almost like mine's in the bank. Everything else is more important now.
Yeah, it's like, especially if you're like, you're in a situation where you're maybe going to draw the game, but then your team is just like, no, we need you to push the win here. Like, you winning this game means we win. Like, then you've got to be like, okay, I've got to change how I play now, because I'm doing this for the team. Like, personally, a draw might be better than risking a loss, but like, if the team needs the win, you really should try and push for it.
This was something that I also thought was quite interesting, just from a scoring point of view, is that because you've got the extra players, the extra tiebreakers available within a team structure are bigger. So a team that, like Trips, you know, we love watching the scores going into third round. You are the best at this. You'll wander around and be like, there are 8 of you who are within a win of taking the top spot. But it goes to a team event, and although it gets close, the swing can be bigger, depending on obviously how you do the scores. But generally speaking, like if you get 3 wins in a 3-player tournament, it's going to do better than a 2-win and 1 loss or something like it. It's just there's bigger swings there, which was really interesting from score watching at our tournament. It was a case of like, right, the top 6 teams are in it, but none of it's a given, because you could absolutely stack it and lose 3-0 and it's a bigger swing, which I thought was quite interesting. So
there's ways you can play with it as well, I think, is you can do the score, like you can, because you've got that bigger set of data feeding into the result, you can easily change up how you score the team. Like you could, I think like the Home Nations ran it like the team result is, I think this might be the more common way of doing it. I think other tournaments have done this as well, is what I mean. But it's like the result is like the result of a game.
Yeah,
so let's say there's 4v4. Let's say 2 wins, 1 loss. It's like a 2-1. Win. So it's like that's like how it's resolved. But I think I quite like how like what you had. I think, which is more about the personal results fed into an overall score. So then that's where you can be just like, okay, like a 3-1 win is going to be better than a 2-1 because I'm going to get the extra TD. I'm going to get the extra points for that.
Yeah, we also felt like having a 2-all draw or just losing but still going for that extra touchdown, those extra casualties actually fed in. Because well, Ben, we went up to Nottingham to play in the Sevens event. We were like, this, like having all this stuff be completely worthless really takes away like all the extra side points and stuff. The way they did the tiebreakers was kind of like, this is just really not demotivating. It was just a bit like, this was all for nothing. And we're big on wanting people to just like everything, like even when we do like the Dungeon Bowl events and stuff, when we used to do the Explorer points and stuff, it's kind of like we want you to always have, okay, well, I've lost this situation or I'm in a bad place, but I can still farm some extra points to help me out and to help my team out, which I think is a real big thing there. So,
and we certainly saw that, because even the first round, as you said, I played Milton in a TO off, and the game was going one way, and midway through the second half, the winner and the loser had been determined by Milton's dice. But he decided to really put one in for his team and go to try and kill everything that he could in the bases. He was like, well, losing 2-0 or 3-0 doesn't really matter now, but I am going to try and kill as many of your people as possible.
Now, it was quite entertaining at our event, because we had 48 in the end with you and Milton playing. Tour play we abandoned early on, like not on the day. We abandoned a couple of weeks beforehand based off what we couldn't change things, and I think was it Barton Bowl where things got quite sporty based on the tour play not being able to adjust to what was going on. So we ended up, you and Milton both playing and both being mercenaries and just going into the random teams, and yeah, it was just hilarious, because in the end it ended up with you two playing against each other. So, and because Entoyment had a very busy weekend with 3 events due to a scheduling error, which put the Moonstone boys out in the car park in a big marquee, it meant that there was about 100 people playing games at Entoyment that weekend, and 50 of them were ours. We had the RPG room, so we put the bottom 2 tables in the RPG room, which hilariously meant that the first game that Milton and Trips played were against each other in the lovely, cool confines of the...
Say that seems rigged. There was a real incentive to lose, because it was like, they made me about 10 degrees warmer than it is.
But you didn't lose, did you? You destroyed him 2-0.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely destroyed him. Although he did make sure he smudged my Yeti all over the pitch.
I came in for that bit, and he was like, "Yeah, no, that's it. I'm going to take out the Yeti by all things," which was quite entertaining. But I do have a question for you, Trips. Being a mercenary in a team, were you able to rally much teamsmanship, or did it feel like a solo event for the chaps you were paired up with?
So I think it grew as we went through the day, because we weren't that we hadn't had any of the warm up to the team tournament about what you're taking and how you're working. So we were literally finding out in that first round, okay, what's the team running and how's it working and who are we? So there wasn't that sort of united approach to let's all go to the tournament and work up. But it definitely became more of a team tournament as the day went on.
You had a pretty good lineup though with Baron and Buster Gut. It did feel like a little mini Bonehead podcast regulars crew. I was like, that's very cool. I did like that a lot. Yeah, it was cool. Do you know what, the day itself, for the most part, we had very little issues, and I think it is that element of the team thing. There's 3 people, so when it came to TO questions, I think I had one the entire day really, because everyone was like, there's 6 of us, let's group think this.
Yeah, you sort it out. Yeah.
So from a TO point of view, it was easier in that way, which was really nice. Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting.
And the fact that although we'd abandoned using tour play to run the tournament, and to be honest, that was basically because we'd set it up as a team and a solo tournament, and tour play went, you can have a solo tournament or a team tournament. Don't try and be extra clever.
How dare you try to move one team from one team to another?
But we use tour play very effectively for the rosters and detail, and that is by far, from a TO's point of view, the easiest way to do rosters.
Absolutely worthwhile.
You cannot have an illegal roster on tour play.
No, and if it is, it's our fault, which is no different. So we ended up going Google Sheets with it, and I do love a Google Sheet. So as we knew that was coming up, we were able to just do that, which meant we could run it quite nicely. In the end, we had it was close going into it. So 317 points. We had the 5+ scatters. So Joe's Toes, Whiskey Monster, and Mr. Toad came away with the win. The Rat and Bowman, Daz, Dan Ellis, and Drew Blood. Then the Old World Outcasts, Boric, G, Kinney, who I've named the Pharaoh because he came in from Egypt that very morning at 4 AM and basically went straight to the tournament. So, and Deathwish running Orcs for that. Gotta say, one of the wicked things of the day was Graham there, going 3-0 with Dwarves in the first round, popping himself on top table. Was very cool to see. 3-0 Dwarf win was just brutally punishing. Team with Big D, Malthus, and Nathanos Stormcaller. We had the Travelling Scrubsman, Stealth Elf, Triangulon, Sam Like Scar, the Average Alicante All-Stars, Dalio, Vindaloo, and Joe Solo. The Bad, the Worst, of the Stunty, Kaijin, Chicken, Primac, and Frodo. Some real Bonehead All-Stars there. We had Megaphobia, ADC, Neil Cotton, and Rupert. The Mad Mercs, which was your team, Trips, Bustergut, Baron, and Trips. Not bad. Bustergut did pretty good. Yeah. MIA, Albasaur, Itchel, and Monolith Swats with the Acorn Appreciation Society, D-Dark, BB Nut, and Duffins. Unsurprisingly, running Goblins. Hybrid Badgers, which was wicked to see. Andy Crabbers and the 2 Baldries, Duncan and Ollie. That was very cool to see. Cabin Crew, Garfield, Ben Hawks, and Hungry Bud. Some of those guys coming down from Bracknell, which was very cool. In fact, I think Garfield was a player I pulled aside and sort of said how great the sportsmanship that I saw from a couple of his games, which was just it was wonderful to see. Like, and I said, like, I know everybody, I'm sure everybody's playing like this, but there's some very, very sportsmanlike and gentleman behaviour from that. Milton's Prison Buddies, Andy, Milton, and Lena. So there was mixed feelings about that team name. The Priest Pack, I mean, well, Wednesday, Master Wiggins and Titanium Boy, but you should all know who the Priest Pack are by now. And the Cunning Stunties, which was just the most Adam Pike team imaginable. You had Toxic, Rob Lobster, and Loaf of Bread, and the Pike's team went. It was quite cool to see Rob Pike win the Adam Pike Award for fouls with 42 or something. It was absolutely crazy. So it was unsurprising, but also always horribly surprising to see that amount of fouls in 3 games at a team event. So
we did have a result that needed full TO checking though, because never have we received a scorecard that said 6-0 on it for touchdowns before.
6-0.
Yeah. it was madness. Ollie Baldry went absolutely turbo. I came over and I was like, "How's it going?" And he was like, Ben, can I ask you a question?" I was like, "Yeah, man, what's going on? What's going on?" He was like, "How do I stop rolling sixes?" And literally everyone within shot just like looked at him and was like, "What?" So yeah, went 6-0 on the first game with Wood Elves. I think just absolutely comboed out. We had some big scores. It was very, 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 very cool. It was a very cool day. It was a very warm day, but it was, it just felt like a really good tournament. And I think, like you kind of said, the team versus team aspect creates individual mini huddles. So, like, we always get the huddle around the TV with the scores and stuff like that, but it felt like there was always team versus team conversations going on, and it was very, very, very cool. Like the admin stuff, the admin challenge is very different, but that's based on being able to push back more of an expectation on the players. Like I will wholeheartedly say I had full expectation of a team turning up with, well, multiple teams turning up with 1 or 2 players just having gone missing, and we only lost 1 person for the day, but then somebody else turned up anyway. So we had the kind of the classic 2 people, one shouldn't be there, 1 should be there, balancing factor.
Yeah,
which was really, really, really good. So the event was really cool. Now, Ben, you went to a big old team event, didn't you?
Yeah, what, Home Nations?
Yeah. How was that?
Yeah, it was really good actually. Run by BB Jock and Alistair Pring. Which it's the first one, but it's planning to be an annual tournament. And it's a big one. They've got 2 that run simultaneously in Loughborough at the Students' Union University, and one is like an invitational for 5 countries and some mercenaries to play in an 8v8 team tournament.
Wow.
So teams of 8 from England, Ireland, Scotland, Wales, Malta, and then the mercenaries, which is barbarians, which were pretty much like purple chest, Andy Davo, hand picked.
Oh wow.
A team, and they won it. So who knew? When you can pick all the best players, you win a tournament. But anyway, they had that running alongside an open, which was teams of 4 versus teams of 4, and that's the one that I played in. And yeah, it was good. 2 days, 5 games. And yeah, overall our team came second to Team England, which was like the spare 4 from Team England, apparently. So,
who was on your team?
But it was really good. So who was on my team? I had Adam Bashto, we had Hayden, HD, and JJ, Punch McGrathfist. Yeah. So we had a team there.
Tactics and Theatrics.
Tactics and Theatrics, yeah. We went to the World Cup together, and yeah, brought it home. Well, kind of 2nd place. We'll take it.
Did you get silver? Did you get silver medals?
We did get silver medals, which was very cool. After the first day, I was top, which was really good actually. That felt awesome. Like our team was top, and I was individual top. Had a nice 3-0 first day, which was my dice were blessed. Like Khorne were doing what Khorne should be doing, and that is just killing everything. And they continued to do that. Had 1 rough game against Scouse Boy, which was the game I lost.
Was that Skaven?
It was Lizards.
Oh, Lizards.
Yeah, it was really tough, but like easily one of the best games I've ever played of Blood Bowl. It was like one of those games where you've come away from it thinking nothing went wrong. Both of us had like 1 turn where we like double scored or something, which sort of gave control back to the opponent.
Yep.
So we both had like an opportunity. And it was just like we both played just really good, and it didn't really feel lucky. It didn't really feel like I'm just not in control. It was like we're both playing to our best of our ability, and it just felt awesome. And it was basically I had to do. It was after our conversation about playing to your outs and not getting tilted. Was he had the ball safely in my backfield, and I looked at my opportunities and I said, okay, I have 1 player that's 3 squares away, so can I do anything to mark that player? And ended up engineering something which resulted in a 2-die uphill block into a 1 dice with frenzy to get I had to move my players around to get a lucky chain push from the 2-die uphill block without a reroll into there, dodge out of prehensile tail from a Croxagore, and then rush 2 squares, and I did it. and marked that player, and so he had to roll his 3+ dodge with a reroll because it's a skink, and he did it. But I remember it was at the end of that he rolled his dice and said, "Whatever happens here, I've had a great game." So,
That's wicked.
it was like really, it was really good.
That's exactly what you want. And I feel like we've had a lot of games like that on the championship so far. Like, it feels like every game has just been like a really solid story of either conjoined disaster or just like a really interesting narrative where people have done their best to just create some really interesting scenarios. Especially, I think your last game with Trips, Ben, you know, with Grot Brady just doing some things at the end there, and then Trips taking the opening move of taking the blitz with the big guy, and it was just like, when you finish a game going, that was a quality story.
Absolutely.
I think it just makes the whole thing like worth it, and it becomes so much more than just miserable chess with dice.
Yeah. I do want to shout out, actually, speaking of good story, shout out. I was at Big Dan's tournament last weekend in Portsmouth, and in my final game against Tommysaurus, one of my favourite moments happened, which was Scrapper Sorehead in Chaos Dwarf was on the ground, and he was in range to get the ball. And I said, it was in the rain, and I had 3 players marking this ball on the ground. And I said that he said to him, just like, it's probably not going to happen. I said, I've seen 6s happen before. And he went for it, pogoed in, nabbed the ball on the 6. I shouted in despair, as I always do this, where I say to my opponents, go on, give it a try.
And
you
it
never
works.
know. And it happened. But then I was blessed, for he double won the dodge out and died. The clean dodge out to score.
Get the hard roll, fail the easy one.
To die.
Yeah,
exactly. Get to 6, fails the dodge.
We've seen that a lot as well.
Yeah, exactly. But it's those stories, isn't it? Which
it is. And when you're in a
it's just
team
makes
event,
it fun.
like, you kind of, the stories, the game means more, and you've got those stories, and they share, and then your story becomes somebody else's story as well. So
yeah,
which is very cool. So I got to say, I loved being at the team event, running it. I loved our team tournament we went before. And if you get the opportunity to do one, just absolutely do it. It is a really cool way to play Blood Bowl. No, we'll come to that on a different podcast, but I do think it's really good fun, and you come away with it with a lot of stories and just a lot. It's just a good way to have fun with friends, which is pretty wicked. Right, any more on team tournaments, guys, before we kind of wrap up for the episode?
I think that's all good. Give them a try. They're fun.
Yeah, give it a go.
Have you got any more events coming up, Ben, or is your calendar starting to chill out a bit now?
I've got UKTC coming up.
Ooh,
That's in like a month. Yeah,
that is
up
exciting.
in York.
That's
Yeah,
exciting.
that'll be a nice big team tournament.
Yeah.
Nothing wrong with York, just a bit of a journey.
What are you running in that, Ben?
I'm bringing corn again.
Gnomes. He's running gnomes.
No, I'm not quitting this team until I get my 88 games.
At least it went from wins to games played.
Oh,
But
yeah. Let's be reasonable.
but this coming week, Trips, I believe you are running gnomes.
I am running Gnomes this week in the championship games. I'm actually quite looking forward to it. Although I will be playing against Ben with Amazons, which means I feel I will be spending all night going, I wish I had dodge.
Yes.
We'll be sure to
delightful.
we'll be sure to swap the mugs over for this game. So Ben can just lovingly say, got dodge, got dodge.
Wrestling against Amazons, though, is really rough because I'm going to anticipate some boots are going to come flying in.
And we should be seeing Rodney Roachbait, Ben?
Yes, he's being painted up this weekend.
Fantastic. That'll be good. That'll be good to see him on the pitch and see if Trips can pilot the gnomes with a bit more success than they've had so far.
All you need is an awesome turn 1 with gnomes, and then it looks good from there.
Only one Treeman though, because we've got I think the Girthentrude is actually missed next game. So down to
no Girthentrude.
No Girthentrude. So
what am I doing, wasn't it?
That's gonna be. But then no big guy on the Amazons, and it's not like you got a lot of armor. So that one tree could do a lot of work.
Yeah, true. I think bringing up the TV for Rodney is going to be better than the tree.
Yes.
Well, yeah, when you've got dodging away, you got the exactly. Wicked. No, I'm very much looking forward to that. What day is it today? Thursday. Wicked. So we've got a few days, which is very, very, very cool. But yeah, right then, guys. I think we should wrap up. So thank you very much for joining us, Trips and BT.
Thank you.
And
problem.
we will be back again with more Blood Bowl content. Happy blocking. Thanks very much for watching. We really appreciate your support. If you want to support the channel even further, please like and subscribe. It really does help us out. Or come join us on YouTube Members or in Patreon, where you can get exclusive access to some content, some loot, early access to basically everything we do, as well as regular competitions. Or you can pick up some Bonehead Podcast loot either on our website at boneheadpodcast.com. We've got the Dungeon Bowl things, we've got tokens and stuff like that, or on our Spreadshirt site as well. Everything you do just helps us make more content and hopefully do it of better quality. Anyway, thank you very much for watching. Happy blocking.